Hi Budgeteers, I'm Drew.
And I'm Mandy.
We're the Lindsays.
Today we're going to be talking about Budgeting 101, why budgeting is so important, and how you can create your own budget for your family and yourself. It's so important to create a budget because it helps you create your own roadmap. You can get from point A to point B, spending the money the way you want to spend it. It creates boundaries for you so that you're not overspending, spending money you don't have, or you're not buying things that you really don't need. So what Drew and I do with budgeting is we pay our bills first, and then we take money out each month from the bank and cash money, and we split it up into envelopes for different categories for saving our money. A big one that we have is Christmas. If you want to save $600 for Christmas, we'll save for 11 months. If you put $55 in each month of those 11 months, you'll have $600 by the time Christmas rolls around. So you'll have cash money to buy the things that you want for Christmas. You'll have a set budget. You have $600 to spend, can't go over it. And so it helps you live within those boundaries. You've created a budget to get from point A to point B. And Drew is our big numbers guy. So I'm actually going to turn the time over to him. He's going to show you how we budget and some great ideas for you to create your own budget with yourself and your own family.
Let's go.
Okay, so when you sit down to do your budget, you're going to want to gather as much information as you can. So figure out your take-home pay or your net pay. So if you look on your pay stub, that's the money after taxes. So pre-tax dollars is your gross, and after taxes is your net. So get the net number or your take-home pay and write that down. For this person, we said that they make $3,500 a month. So figure that out and go back at least 3 months for all of these numbers that you're going to be gathering and try and average that number out. Then you're going to want to go through your bank statements and all of your paper bills, anything that you pay money to. You're going to want to find those at least 3 months back if you can. If not, and you know what those numbers are, then that's great, but you might have to do a little digging. So there's two different categories we have over here. So we have a blue column, which is fixed expenses, and your purple column, which is your variable expenses. Fixed expenses are numbers that do not change, or they should not change throughout the year unless if you actually change like your health plan or your car insurance company, something like that. But then your variable expenses, you have a little bit more flexibility with, minus your utilities. The only reason I don't categorize this as a fixed expense is because it does change, but it really just depends on the season. So these other amounts like food, gas, and eating out, you can play with these a little bit more and really squeeze your pennies and get a little bit more for your money at the end of the month. Over here you have the income, your expenses, and your income after expenses. So overall, this is a pretty typical example of somebody that lives paycheck to paycheck. So if you look over here, $30 at the end of the month is not that much. And there's even people that either have $0 at the end of the month or people that go negative at the end of the month. But as long as this number is positive, you're good, but the goal is to get this number bigger. So you want to spend less and have more to save. Down here in orange, these are kind of some tips and advice that we have. So for your housing expenses, if you try and keep those between 25 and 30% of your income, that's a really good number to be around. Now for this person making $3,500 a month, $875 is the lower end of 25%, and $1,050 is 30% of their income. Obviously right now they're paying $1,000, so that's a little bit more on the higher end. So we can adjust that by finding a cheaper place to live. Now food, a good rule of thumb is $50 per person per week. Mandy and I live off of $100 per week for our groceries, and a lot of times that's actually more than enough. We'll try and spend $80 if we can, and that way we have an extra $20 a week to spend on whatever we want. So sometimes instead of making a meal, if we can spend less at the grocery store, we'll go eat out or something, but it's pretty rare that we'll do that. So you should have a savings goal of around 10 to 20% of your income. So for this person, 10% of their income is $350 a month, or 20% of their income is $700 per month. Obviously, when they only have $30 at the end of the month, that's not going to happen. So we have to look for ways that we can make this number get higher. We'll look at that in a second. So that brings me to my next point. If you can pay off your debt quickly and then save 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, you'll be sitting really good. So let's look over here in our blue column. This person has a car payment of $250 a month. They have a student loan of $150 per month, and they have a credit card payment of $100 per month. If you work really hard to pay off your debts and start zeroing these out, the more that you put zeros in here, you're going to see over here, all of a sudden there's $530 left over because you don't have any payments. You don't have debt that you owe people. So what are some other ways? Obviously, all these are pretty high. Netflix is probably really high for this. I mean, not everyone pays this, but for this example, let's say, all right, instead of spending $75 a month on myself, I'm going to drop it down to $50. And my phone, I'm going to find a new plan that's a little bit cheaper, and now we're at $50 for our phone plan. And then over here, well, I don't really need to eat out as much, so what if I just gave myself $100 per month? And gas, I don't actually drive that much, so let's make it $150. All of a sudden, you now have $745 at the end of the month, and that would put us right at our 20%, and even with a little bit extra to put towards whatever else you want. So everything here in the pink and purple, this is kind of just examples of other categories you could put your money into. So again, Mandy and I save up for Christmas year round. That way we're not scrambling for money at the end of the year, and we just have cash to pay for all of our presents for each other and family members. And it's not as, it's not a big burden, and you're not swiping your credit card for that stuff. So again, find out as much information as you can, put it all into fixed and variable expenses categories. Really ask yourself if it's a need versus a want. If you're trying really hard to pay off your debt, keep at it. It's totally worth it. Mandy and I don't have debt, and we love it. It's just really peaceful. And then just pinch your budget as tight as you can and stick to it. And you're going to want to do this on a monthly basis. Don't just do it once and it's just good year round, because you're going to have different expenses every month depending on the season. Like summertime, you're going to want to spend money on cooking out and having parties in the summer and pools and whatever. And then in the winter, you might need to buy some winter clothes. You might want to buy some sleds for your kids to play with, or whatever the season is. You're going to spend money differently every single month. So the more you can think about different categories to save for, and if you try really hard to pay cash for everything, then you're going to be able to tell your money what to do a lot better by following a written plan. So there you have it.
So if you have any questions, feel free to email us at blissfulbudgetinghq@gmail.com, and join us next week for our discussion on saving money. Bye!